Hi, everyone. For those of you that know me, I'm Ashley's sister, Alexis. For those of you that don't know me, you know I'm her only sister, so she really didn't have another option for a maid of honor, so that is why I'm standing up here today. But like most little sisters, I wanted to be like Ashley when I was growing up. Whatever sport that she'd gotten into, I really wanted to do that too. So when we were little, Ashley had really gotten into swimming. So obviously, I wanted to go to swimming too. So one morning, my dad dropped us off at swimming practice, and Ashley and I were kind of in different groups, and so I went off with my group and did my thing, and she went off with her group. And I remember somebody came up to me, and they're like, "Hey, where's your sister?" And I looked around, and I was like, "Well, I don't know. She got out of the car with me this morning. You know, I have no idea where she went." Well, come to find out, Ashley didn't really like getting up that early in the morning and swimming in the cold pool. So when we would get to practice, Ashley would take off and go stand in the hot showers until practice was over, and then she'd kind of pop out and, was like, swimming was great today. And it was kind of at that point I realized I didn't really want to be like Ashley. So as we kind of got older, Ashley got way more into cheerleading, and I kind of did soccer. And so back then, about the age of like 12, my dad was our rec league coach, and one of Ashley's friends decided she wanted to play soccer this year. So Ashley was like, "I want to join the team too." So naturally, Ashley had to be on our team. So So from that season, in summary, I can tell you a few things. One, soccer is not our sport. Two, we had blue jerseys on, but somehow Ashley named our team the Pink Pansies, and nobody stopped us from cheering for the Pink Pansies every game. And the third one is we didn't win more than 2 games that whole season.
All right, Jenny's got it.
Yeah, she was the only one that was good on our team. All right. So kind of since we were more opposite alike, we went to different colleges. We were kind of farther apart. So her personal life I really wasn't involved much in, but she would come home and she would talk about this great guy she met named Brandon, and she would come in and she was like, "Yeah, Brandon is super nice, he's really smart," and all of these things. And as she's going on, in the back of my head I'm thinking, everybody has a flaw. What is Brandon's flaw, right? So I meet Brandon the first few times, and he really was everything Ashley said. He is super smart. He is very nice. He is funny. Don't worry, it's just for the speech. And so I was thinking, there's got to be something. But maybe he's perfect. So we go on our family vacation, and Brandon decides to come with us. And we're sitting there on the beach one day. We're all just sitting in our chairs reading. And my brothers were there, and they get up, and they're like, "We want to play some soccer." And they asked if anybody wanted to do it. And since Brandon was kind of new, getting into the family, he said, "I'll get up and play with you guys." And so Brandon gets up there, and Brandon, you were god-awful. The boys were dribbling around him like he didn't even exist. And I was laughing so hard. So Brandon, I'm here to tell you I have found your flaw, and it is sports. Oh, I lost where I was at. So, I know. So Ashley and Brandon, I am here to tell you both that you should probably stick to the medical field, and don't let people ever know that you two played soccer at some point in time. But in all seriousness, Brandon, I'm very excited for you to officially be a member of this family, and I really couldn't have asked for a better brother-in-law. So everybody, let's raise our glasses one more time to congratulate again Mr. and Mrs. Shiflett.
Set that there. All right, thank you. All righty. Hello, everyone. For those of that do know me, my name is Jason, and you're thinking, "Oh my God, they gave him a microphone." For those of us just meeting, give me 5 minutes, and you will say, "Oh my God, they gave him a microphone." So, I'm actually very honored that Shiflett and Ashley trusted me to give a speech at their wedding, because I give a lot of speeches. Most of them are incoherent and mean absolutely nothing. But this time they did actually give me a task, and they're like, "It has to be about us." And I was like, fair enough. This does seem like a pretty important day in your guys' life. So when I started thinking about them, whether I give a speech, whoever's giving a speech, I don't think any one of us could really capture the character of Brandon and Ashley. We certainly will try, but we absolutely can't. We're both here in support of them. We love them each individually, and I don't think you guys would ever really truly understand how happy we are that you guys are now one single unit. But we will try nonetheless. So, I met Shiflet first. He was my chief resident, meaning he was the one in charge, which is terrifying. But so when I met Shiflet, I met him as Shiflet. He was my chief resident. I did not know that Shiflet had a first name. It was Shiflet or Chieflet. It was nowhere else. And then I keep hearing people like, oh, well, Brandon's so nice. Brandon's so great. I'm like, I don't know who Brandon is, but I'm assuming, Ashley, you knew that he was BS, right? Brandon Shiflet, his initials, you know. So I was like, well, that's fine. That's great. Much in medicine, for those of you who aren't in medicine, our lives are very fragmented. We have undergrad, we have medical school. Everything is in little parts and sessions. That's part of the reason Shiflet did not pick a specific, you know, one, like, what am I trying to say? Not maid of honor, but
Best man.
best man, there we go. He did not have one best man because we are all his best men. We are all from parts of his life. We all know him in certain fragments. And that's unfortunately how medicine rolls. We are just in these short little slots. So they gave me the microphone, I'm assuming because they thought I would talk louder than the person holding the microphone, and this would be an easier situation. So when I was putting together the speech, it was one of those, what could I say, what should I say, and I decided I would do both. So one of the things I could say about you guys is a conversation that really meant nothing, but it just upsets me to this day, is we came over to your guys' house, we were having kebabs or a fire or something, and you guys had bats in your fireplace, which is concerning for any person. You don't want to have bats in your house. That's great, that's fine. But then Ashley and Brandon sat there and they're just like, well, I don't know if you guys knew this, but when bats actually mate, their offspring are called pups. I didn't need to know that. No one needs to know that. Get rid of the bats that are in your fireplace. And they keep telling us like, well, I don't know if you knew this, but in West Virginia, it's most likely this species. No one cares. Get rid of the bats that are in your fireplace. So that's what I could say, but what I should say is Ashley and Shiflet have both spent a lot of time dedicated to their education. Nursing school, medical school, NP school, fellowship. Back and forth, both of them have gone leaps and bounds above where they needed to be, and they did it together, and I assure you, that is not an easy thing to go. But they did it, they made it seem mostly flawless, and they supported each other through their hardships. And that's one thing that, you know, does not go unnoticed, especially those of us that have also been through medicine, is the fact that you rallied and championed each other to get to where you are. Now, something I could say about Shiflet is he is the worst handyman I have ever met in my life. One of the first times, he's just like, oh yeah, I have this really great BMW, whatever, X-Class, whatever. And he's like, I can give you guys a ride. So me and Zach were like, all right, let's get into this normal car. He opens it up. There's loose wires and still, that is it. Nothing that looks like a car on the inside. He's like, well, I'm remodeling it or upgrading it or whatever you do to a car. He says that he finished it, but oddly enough, he ended up with a new car before we ever saw the finished product. He then also bought a tankless water heater that he bragged about for all of 4 to 5 years that he allegedly says is installed in their current house. And he sent us a picture of it, but I don't know if we can actually verify that it's legit. So it's one of those things that I could say those things, but what I should say is Shiflet is definitely one of those people who is well educated, but the things that he doesn't know, he's not scared to go after. He's also not scared of a commitment, whether it be a 4-year long process of installing a tankless water heater to fixing a car, allegedly. He knows what he wants, and he goes after it. And that's why I know that Ashley, he wanted you, he went after it, and it will stick. So, now, the one thing that I could say about Ashley and Brandon is that they do not understand how gravity works. And there are many occasions of where this occurred. Shiflet, one night we went out to, we'll say dinner, and proceeded to throw himself down a flight of stairs. No questions asked, he just couldn't understand how stairs worked. He woke up the next morning, he's like, I don't understand why I'm covered in all these bruises. Well, there's 13 steps of why that happened. We then went on a ski trip. Everyone falls down when they're skiing. Not everyone can be expert skiers or snowboarders like me. But Ashley ended up causing a pileup of, I think it was Ashley first, followed by Olivia, then Demir. And it wasn't the fact that they fell while they were skiing. That happens. It was the comical amount of time it took the three of them to get up. We're at Snowshoe, and literally everyone's just waiting for three people, three grown adults, to manage to stand up from skiing. Then they managed to do their duo act. I'm sure some of you have seen this footage. At the time, it actually was a little concerning, but this past winter, we had an ice storm. Shiflet shows us this video. Ashley's going to work. Shiflet, of course, is probably still asleep because he's not doing anything. Ashley backs maybe 2 inches out of the driveway and just slides all the way down, and her car jumps the curb and almost hits her neighbor's house. Terrifying at that time, I'm sure. Next thing you know, you see Shiflet walk maybe 4 feet out, fall on his butt, and just ragdoll all the way down the driveway. Now, the reason I know that Ashley does love Shiflet is because Shiflet landed right in front of the car. Ashley could have just been like, I slipped and ran over him. There was nothing I could do. The video footage would have supported it, but she didn't. She held tight. What I could say, or what I should say is Shiflet and Ashley don't understand how gravity works. I actually called the Georgia Aquarium. Both of these tanks were actually just recently evaluated. They are up to code, but if they do spring a leak, please make sure our bride and groom are going upwards because they won't figure it out themselves. But in all seriousness, Ashley, since the first time I met you guys, you have always included me in your little family. You have made me feel like I was always a part of you guys. You let me still Shiflet away for probably more time than you ever wanted, but you never once made me feel excluded. You always wanted to make us a part of it, and I thank you for that. Shiflet, there are not enough nice things I could say. You are always brutally honest with me, which I appreciate. But the best character that you have is you are truly a caring person. Whether it be someone that you've known your whole life or someone that you're just meeting that day, you truly take the time to care about their situation. You go leaps and bounds above and beyond to help them, and that's why I know that Ashley will be in great hands. So everyone, raise a glass. Let's give a toast to our newlyweds, to their future successes, to Ashley and Shiflet.
I'm not as high-tech as the last guy. Or as smart. Fourth of that, maybe. Let's see here. Oh, wait a minute. I can't do this. This is about pickleball. Today's about Ashley and Brandon, so I'll flip over to the other side here and tell you a little bit about Ashley and Brandon, and more about Ashley. So first of all, Cindy and I would like to welcome and thank everybody for coming to Atlanta and in this celebration of their wedding and this wonderful life that Brandon and Ashley are going to have. We would also like to welcome Tom and Lisa and the Shiflets and the Skidmores into a bigger family unit that hopefully we can all help and love and nurture this beautiful couple together. Okay, so that's a goal of, I guess, our your new parents type thing. So I wanted to say a couple things about Ashley, more about Ashley than Brandon, I guess. So as I reflect on Ashley, she has a lot of attributes that make her kind of unique, and I've got a couple moments, things that come into mind. First of all, she has great resolve about things in general. So one of those things was in second grade. I was a teacher, so I had to spend a lot of time, with Ashley and all of them, and help them with their homework or make sure they got it done, I guess, at times. And so Ashley and I would always argue. We have some similar personalities and things. And so we were arguing over second grade math, what 2 times 2 was. And, she was sure it was 5. And I was assuring her that it was only 4. But we would argue back and forth. And I made her cry a little bit about it. But she still put 5 down on her paper when she turned it in, So that's one thing. And then she was always very determined. Kind of a kid. She played a lot of things. She played t-ball for the Docks Bombers, and she also took her hand at softball. And so one time after a softball game, one of the first games, one of the few games, she goes to the plate, and Ashley's obviously this little petite little thing, and she goes to bat, and the balls go whizzing by her, and all of a sudden, she strikes out or whatever, and sees the ball. I don't think she swung, but she strikes out. And then she comes up to me and on the hillside watching, and she's sniffling, and she says, that ball was coming really fast, So basically, she cried, okay? And that was about the end of softball, I think, for her. That wasn't her thing either. Neither was soccer, by the way, but a few other things too. So she started cheering. Timory and some of them got her involved in cheering. And so they cheered for the FOP Colts back in the day when they were little. And I think even Alexis did a little bit of that as well. Then things got a little more serious. They won a competition and they had to go to Knoxville to a tournament. So the money pit of cheerleading began. Okay? And she didn't cry anymore. I was crying, okay? So for a long time, she cheered for Gym 1 for a long time, and Miller School, and Fairmont Senior High School. So she was always cheering, and she was real active, and her teams did really well. And she was a big part of those teams over the years. And we had lots of great fun, and several of you are here tonight and in celebration of this too. So we've had great years there. One moment that I do want to reflect on when she was at Miller, she had a coach who was really hard on him. And so anyway, it's kind of the season-ending finale, and we're at the local college, and we're, they're practicing, and the coach had them up there practicing their event. And so Ashley and another little girl were getting ready to do a stunt, and or a tumble or something. And Ashley... there was a little hiccup, and Ashley went and hit her. She fell, she flipped, and she hit her head straight on this hardwood floor. So she comes up crying, and she runs to the bathroom, and I don't know if you remember this. And then I come to the bathroom in the ladies' room to get her, right? Because I was the one that brought her up there, and I said, she's crying and sniffling, and I said, Ashley, we got to go back out there and do this. It's, okay. And so she goes back out there, and they kind of did a little more walkthrough on it. But the very next day, Ashley was there. She was determined, and she did what she had to do. She cried beforehand, but she did what she had to do. And I cried because she was so perfect at doing what she had to do that next day and the determination that she had. Okay? Move on here. She's also, very loving at times. You'll appreciate that at times, okay? And Alexis stole my thunder here. So she did play soccer, and I'll kind of move past that a little bit. But she did play soccer for our team, and Jenny, and we didn't. We wore the pink pansies, and all the other little girls that was Alexis's friends and stuff. They hated it, and so we didn't. We laughed a lot. I don't think we won any games, so I cried a lot because we didn't win any games. Okay, and then later she decided she wanted to cheer and go to Marshall, and she was determined that she was going to Marshall and she wasn't going to WVU, so I cried again, okay? So, she was a Mountaineer, but she's a Marshall, and she had a great time and a great experience at Marshall, okay? And she was, she was a pretty goal-oriented person, so obviously when she was in high school, she was like a senior class president, and she cried 10 years later trying to put on a class reunion that didn't go off. Okay, she got her master's, obviously, as they've already said, as a nurse practitioner. And so Cindy and I are really super proud of her and all of our kids and what they've accomplished. Today my beautiful daughter is married in, and I'm crying a lot of tears today of love and joy for the both of them. Brandon, you have married a piece of my heart. Love her, take care of her. And as you know, if you don't, you will cry. Okay? Okay? We have a lot to cheer about here today. So if everybody will raise their glass in honor of Brandon and Ashley. And we wish them much love, success, and happiness. And I'm sure Tom and Lisa hope, and I and Cindy hope down the road, not too far, some other things coming our way. So here's here to Ashley and Brandon.
My God.
Love you, man. Good job.